Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing our family's no spend month and giving an update on how we did in the month of January, and also share some tips with you if you're thinking of doing a no spend challenge of your own. So my family took the month of January as a no spend challenge, and we were calling it the No New Year, meaning we didn't want to bring anything new into the house as we're decluttering in preparation for our big move to our custom built house. And I teamed up with a blogger, fellow friend, SHANNON'S, who also completed this challenge, and you can take a look at her video update that I will link below to see how she and her family did. I'd say we had a pretty successful month, and I will get to that a little later in the video, but first I want to share with you some tips if you're thinking of doing a no spend challenge of your own. The first tip I have is to track your expenses before you start. So if you have a budget, that's a great tool that you can use to see what you typically spend in a standard category. And just knowing what you normally spend each month, and then at the end of a no spend month to see how much you saved, can be a huge motivator to keep going and really make you feel good that you made those sacrifices and were able to save so much money. If you don't have a budgeting app yet, I would highly recommend everydollar.com. That's what my family and I use to budget our expenses, and I will talk about that in a future video. Tip number 2 is to set the rules. The beauty of a no spend month is that you really can set your own rules depending on your situation. Probably there's nobody out there that could say that they're not going to spend a single cent in the entire month, because it's just not realistic. There's lots of expenses that are going to need to be paid, such as utilities and food. And so that is an unrealistic goal, but you can set your own rules. My family and I kept it pretty simple, and we were mainly looking for having a no new year, and so we wanted no new things to come into our house. Items that were consumable, such as toilet paper or toothpaste, and food items were completely able to purchase. We had no problems with that. It was clothing items or extra expenses of going on a little trip or something that we were trying to control. And so it was more about the things being brought into our house, and that goes along with the decluttering that we've been working on. I'm going to link the video series of our decluttering journey so that you can see what we're up to in that regard. My final tip is to start the challenge with an open mind. Things are just definitely not going to go perfectly. You're not going to save 100% of any budget category, no matter how hard you try, because just things will pop up. I'll explain what happened to us a little bit later. And so just knowing that you're thinking about this as more of a learning experience and trying to find ways to be more intentional with your buying, that is going to make a huge difference. This is where it's also important to have an accountability partner. I was very grateful to have Shannon with me on this journey, and I could kind of talk to her about the struggles we were having, and she'd just say, keep at it, you're doing great, and that really made all the difference. So I definitely encourage you to get an accountability partner if you're going to try this challenge. Now I want to talk a little bit about how our family's no spend challenge went. And this is the first time that we had ever done anything like this, but we are very good at budgeting. We have 4 main categories that are variable throughout the month. There are some that stay fixed every time or every month, such as a rent payment and insurance payments and things like that. But there are 4 categories that we tend to see variable every single month, and those are groceries, restaurants, miscellaneous, and then auto or gas. We started out the month really strong and with good resolve. Starting in January 1st, we thought was a good idea because it kind of gave us that sense of renewal, and we were just really motivated to do this. And then about 2 or 3 days into the challenge, we got a huge blow when we found out that one of our van's batteries had died. And so right away it was a big expense to get that replaced. And ironically, just 2 weeks later, because the weather in Minnesota has been insane this winter and super cold, our other van battery also bit the dust. And so we ended up with 2 new van batteries in the no spend month, which was obviously not expected, not appreciated, but they weren't things that we could control, and we obviously could not put that off any longer to buy a new one. And so what are you gonna do? We bought the new batteries, put them in, and they're working like a charm. The other thing that happened was a total slip up on my part. And I have a friend that just started recently doing watercolor paintings, and she is really gifted at it, and I just loved her work. And so she was posting pictures on Facebook of the different art that she had to offer, and she said, you know, I think I will probably sell these. And I right away said, yes, I totally want to buy one for the girls' new bedroom. And I sent her the PayPal money and everything, and then I realized that that was totally a breach of our rules. And so I contacted her immediately and asked her to please hold on to the item, even though I'd paid, just hold on to the item and send it to me in February, so that at least, even though I'd already spent the money, at least we didn't have the new item coming into our house. So now the things that went right. We were very careful to think about our purchases, and so we had a list that we set up of all the items that kind of came to mind that we thought, well, we're going to need to buy this. For example, our son is in orchestra and he had a concert coming up and he needed to have a black shirt and black pants. And so we wrote that on the list because he had outgrown his other items, and we figured, okay, well, we'll have time in February to purchase these. And we had probably about, I think at the end of the month, we maybe had about 10 items that were on that list of potential purchases. But thankfully, almost about 5 of them, I believe, ended up getting crossed off because while I was decluttering, we actually found things that would work instead. I ended up finding a pair of black pants that worked instead for him that I forgot we even had in storage. And just other things that came up, or we realized we didn't actually need the item that was on the list. And so waiting, having it on the list and then waiting was really helpful for us and helped us not to spend. The other thing that was probably the biggest trick to not spending is to simply just stay out of stores, and we really did good at that. I go to a big box store, you know, I might have one thing on my list, but I end up kind of wandering around and I'll find some different things that look cute, put them in the cart, and next thing you know, you have tons of items and you've spent money that you didn't need to spend. And so we really tried to stay out of the stores, especially the big box stores. I obviously did go to the grocery store, but I am happy to report that at the end of the month, I only went into Walmart one time, and that was because I had some toiletries that I couldn't get at our typical grocery store, and we went into Target a total of 0 times. Not a single time did we go into Target. And so that was a big win and pretty eye-opening to realize that, you know, just the simple act of not going into the store can save a lot of money and can save you from bringing things into your house that you don't really need. So the final question you might be asking is, how much did you actually save doing the no spend month? And because we had tracked our expenses ahead of time, I'm able to kind of break that down for you. I have it in real detail form in the blog post that I will link below if you want to check out the nitty-gritty budget numbers. But overall, I'll tell you that the 4 categories that we were thinking about in auto, we ended up overspending because of the batteries. In groceries, we were pretty close to what we typically spend in a month. We saved just a little bit. And same with restaurants, we saved just a little bit in that category. And our biggest saving was in the miscellaneous category, which ends up being a hodgepodge category, and clothing and shoes and anything basically can fall into the miscellaneous category. And so we saved a ton of money in that category, which kind of offset the downfall in the auto. And so overall we saved close to about $350, which I felt was pretty good considering our extra expenses that we weren't anticipating. And so it was a good first try at the no spend month. So I would definitely encourage you to try it. Give it a try if it's something that you're thinking about doing. It's really not that difficult, and in the end, when you can see that you made some progress and you had some good results, it can be motivating to keep going. And now, we were never thinking of this as a one and done type of situation, so we always thought of it as a way to be more intentional with our spending and intentional with what we bring into our home. And so this was more so a jump start for us in that thinking, and so we're continuing on with it. Not as strict, obviously, as we were in January, but we are being a lot more mindful, and for that, it's a success. So thanks for watching this video, and I will see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to this channel or visiting my website, arrowhillcottage.com, for more tips on creating a simple home and living an intentionally simple life.